What if I told you that the COVID symptom you're experiencing right now might not be what you think it is, or that your body could be fighting the virus without you even knowing it? 3 years into living with COVID-19, and scientists are still uncovering surprising ways this virus interacts with our bodies. What seemed like a respiratory illness has revealed itself to be something far more complex, affecting everything from our brains to our toes. Today, we collated the scientific discoveries about COVID symptoms in Thie's 3 years past COVID period that could literally save your life or the life of someone you love. Let's start with what you probably already know. The classic COVID symptoms include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. But did you know that according to a landmark study published in Nature Medicine in 2023, nearly 40% of COVID-positive individuals never experienced these textbook symptoms at all? Instead, researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that many people first experience what they call stealth symptoms, subtle changes that are easy to miss or attribute to something else entirely. These include a sudden inability to smell or taste certain foods, unusual fatigue that feels different from normal tiredness, cognitive fog that makes simple tasks feel difficult, skin rashes, particularly on the toes, the famous COVID toes. What's particularly fascinating is how COVID symptoms have evolved with each new variant. A 2024 study in The Lancet analyzed symptom patterns across 1.3 million patients and found that newer variants are increasingly neurological in nature. This explains why you might have heard more people complaining about brain fog, memory issues, or even bizarre neurological symptoms like phantom smells. In fact, researchers at UCLA Medical Center documented cases where patients reported smelling smoke or burning rubber constantly, when nothing was actually burning. But here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. Your symptoms may actually be determined by your genetics. A groundbreaking study published in Cell in early 2024 discovered that people with certain genetic markers are more likely to experience specific COVID symptom clusters. For example, if you have the gene variant IL6R 2,228,145 rupees, you're 3 times more likely to experience extreme fatigue as your primary symptom rather than respiratory issues. This isn't just academic, it could explain why COVID affects different people in such dramatically different ways. Even more concerning is what scientists call silent hypoxia, dangerously low blood oxygen levels without the feeling of breathlessness. This phenomenon, documented extensively by pulmonologists at Weill Cornell Medicine, shows how COVID can deprive your body of oxygen without triggering the normal warning signs. This is why pulse oximeters became so important during the pandemic. Now, let's talk about long COVID, perhaps the most mysterious aspect of this disease. Studies from the Mayo Clinic have found that over 30% of people who contract COVID experience at least one symptom that persists for months afterward. What's particularly troubling is that the severity of your initial infection doesn't necessarily predict whether you'll develop long COVID. Research published in JAMA Internal Medicine followed patients for 18 months and found that even those with mild initial cases could develop debilitating long-term symptoms. The most common long COVID symptoms include persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest, post-exertional malaise, where even minor physical activity causes exhaustion, cognitive difficulties affecting memory and concentration, chronic pain, particularly in joints and muscles, sleep disturbances that don't respond to normal interventions. But here's something crucial that isn't discussed enough: how COVID symptoms uniquely affect different age groups. Children, for instance, often present with entirely different symptom profiles than adults. A comprehensive study by Harvard Medical School found that children are more likely to experience gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea as their primary complaints, rather than the respiratory symptoms we typically associate with COVID. In older adults, confusion or changes in mental status might be the only sign of infection. This phenomenon, termed atypical presentation, was documented in a landmark paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine, showing how COVID can manifest primarily as delirium in elderly patients without any of the classic symptoms. Now, you might be wondering, with all these varied symptoms, How can anyone know if they have COVID or something else? This is where the science gets really interesting. Researchers at Stanford University discovered specific patterns in how symptoms emerge and evolve that are unique to COVID-19. Unlike the flu, which typically hits all at once, COVID symptoms often appear in a particular sequence. According to their analysis of over 55,000 confirmed cases, fever typically appears first, followed by cough and muscle pain, then nausea or vomiting in some cases, finally, diarrhea in a smaller percentage of patients. This sequential pattern is so distinct that it's being used to develop AI algorithms that can predict COVID infection based solely on how your symptoms develop over time, with accuracy rates approaching 90%. But perhaps most fascinating is how COVID symptoms can offer a window into your immune response. A 2024 study published in Science Immunology found that the specific constellation of symptoms you experience correlates with distinct immune signatures in your blood. For example, people whose primary symptoms are loss of taste and smell tend to have higher levels of specific T-cell responses, which might actually protect them from developing more severe disease. This discovery is now informing the development of next-generation treatments that can be tailored to your specific immune profile. Understanding these symptom patterns isn't just academic, it could save lives. The British Medical Journal reported that recognizing atypical COVID symptoms early could reduce hospitalization rates by up to 35%. So what should you do with this information? First, pay attention to unusual symptoms, even if they don't match the classic COVID profile. That unexpected rash, strange metallic taste, or unusual fatigue could be meaningful. Second, consider keeping a symptom journal during respiratory illnesses. The specific progression of your symptoms can provide crucial clues about what's actually happening in your body. And finally, stay informed about how COVID symptoms are evolving with new variants. What was true last year might not be true today, as this virus continues to change and adapt. If you found this information valuable, please share it with friends and family who could benefit. Hit the like button to help more people discover this content, and subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based health information that could make a real difference in your life.